You guys are officially live. Go ahead, start whenever you're ready.
All right, we're ready to call to order then. All right, so Bruce Hobzak here. I'm a chair of the Adult Education and Literacy Advisory Committee, and I'm calling this meeting to order on March 11th, 2021. We're scheduled for 10 a.m. to 12:30. We'll promise to end on time, if not early. With that, we've got a great agenda. The agenda, is going to hear from us some introductions, public comments. We've got the Virginia Workforce Development Executive Director, Jane Didmeyer. She's going to join us, and it's from the governor's office, and talk about the strategic plan. We're going to hear from our own George Wilcox and Heidi. And then we're going to have nominations and vote for chair and co-chair. So I don't think we need to approve the agenda, but but I will ask the group, if they want any additions or changes to the agenda at this time. Okay. So a reminder about netiquette here, and I know we're all getting really good at Zoom, but remember that mute button is your friend and foe. So please stay muted, but the first thing you do is unmute and give us your name, because the record keeping is challenging sometimes, although this is recorded. We want to keep record of that. So unmute, give your name, then make your motion, make your comment or your second. So that's clear and on record, and remember to mute back again. So with that, we are going to, there's no, we need a roll call. I'm just going to call everybody down. So remember, as I call your name, unmute and just answer with here. I'll just do that, Beverly, and we can both look for the quorum. So Bruce Hobzak, I'm present. John Spain. I do not see John with us today, right? I know Anna Rice will not be joining us. Mr. Duncan, are you here? Duncan,
I'm here.
Right, excellent. And Ellen.
Here.
All right, thank you, Ellen. Sharon Mullen will not be joining us. Ms. Paulette. No. Rebecca Hughes.
Present.
Great. Alan here.
Here.
Mr. Allen, excellent. Roxana.
Present.
Great. Tammy, you're here. Great. And Dr. Rodney Berry is here.
Here.
Excellent. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have a quorum. So excellent. Great. Thank you for that, folks. We had no public comments received before the deadline. Is that correct? None came in. Okay. So we will not have any public comments for this meeting. So then we'll move on to the next order of business, is the approval of the October 8th, 2020 minutes. Have you all had a chance to review that? Yes. Okay. Great. So we would entertain a motion to approve if everybody is in agreement.
This is Alan Milton. I make a motion we approve the minutes from our last meeting as presented.
So
Ellen
moved by
Osborne,
Ellen.
and I second that.
Who was that second?
Ellen Osborne.
Thank you, Ellen. So that the motion has been made and seconded. I'll ask everybody to all in favor to unmute and say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, motion carries and minutes are approved. All right, so like to do introductions, and I'm going to go around and call on you guys. So we can go through this quickly, and we'll stay brief, but love to hear each of you an overall status and maybe share just a recent accomplishment and a current challenge. Again, quickly, briefly, but it gives us a chance to hear from all of you. I'll start it off. Bruce Sobzak. I work as an organizational development consultant, and some of us were talking before this. What I'm seeing out there is a lot of pent up demand. Some of the challenges here. I know, it's a real mixed bag out there. There's so many companies that are hurting, but there are a lot of companies that have stayed open and done well throughout this whole thing. I mean, some of that would surprise you. We've got manufacturing companies in Phoenix, Arizona that have not missed a beat. But others have been devastated. We recently had to deal with the Rolls-Royce closing in Prince George, as a lot of you all know. So it's a mixed bag out there. But one common thing I'm hearing out there is everybody's preparing for the summer. They're very optimistic of June and July time frame, with the vaccines and that. And there's a lot of capital on the sidelines being ready to go. And the challenges I'm hearing over and over again involve training and staffing. So that is still going to remain. As a matter of fact, in a lot of ways, I think it's going to be even more challenging. So that's my brief speak, and I'm really, really optimistic about the future here. So Anna's not with us. John is not with us. Duncan, please share what's going on down there.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Duncan Quick. I'm with the Truck Driver Training School with Southside Virginia Community College, and things are good. About a year ago, we sent all of our students home, and it was probably right at a year ago, and they stayed home until about mid-June, and since mid-June, we've been going pretty good, pretty hard. Trucking industry is booming. If that is any sort of a measuring stick for our economy, it's a good thing. I've been in the trucking business all of my life, and I don't know that I've ever seen the demand for qualified drivers as high as it is today. One of the big, biggest hurdles that we faced once we did come back in mid-June was the fact that these guys were not able to get into the DMVs to take their written tests, to get their permits. And, all of these people were just hungry to get into the workplace, but they couldn't get there. So we worked with DMV, and DMV worked with us, and we have since, probably just before Christmas, become a remote testing site for DMV. So our students are able to come in, do their written test with us, and then we can just transition them into class whenever that next date is. So that has been working very nicely for the last several months. And I'll finish with this, and that is, there's a lot of help out there that is encouraging people not to go to work. But it seems that the candidates that we're getting that are interested in getting into the truck driver training school are probably as interested as ever in getting into this field and getting into this profession and taking advantage of it. And that makes it a joy to work with those people, because they're hungry and they're working hard, and things are good at the truck driver training school. And that's my story.
Fantastic. What a great idea to help with the DMV stuff. There's some really out of the box things going on out there. It's just amazing. And I have lots of stuff to write about here. Miss Ellen Osborne, how are you? Tell us.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Ellen Osborne. I'm the Executive Director of Literacy Volunteers of Charlottesville, Albemarle. We made the switch to virtual learning like everybody else for the last year. It's had its ups and downs. We have converted our training to virtual training for our new volunteers. And for the first time in my almost 10 years at the organization, we are now actively advertising for new students. So we have always had a backlog. We did lose probably about a third of our volunteers and a third of our students during the pandemic. But now at this point, we have successfully recruited and trained enough volunteer tutors to have more tutors than students. And so our first approach will be to our current students and see if they have friends and family members to come in and join our program. But like I say, this is the first time ever that we have actively recruited students. So it's a new day for us.
Incredible. Wow. Thanks.
And now I know that we should steer them towards the truck driving industry.
Yeah. Amen.
Please do.
All right. Paulette is not with us. So where is she? Paulette Johnson? No. Okay, Rebecca Hughes, please. Oh, don't forget to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So we're seeing a really interesting shift in as we look at the industry across the region with the demand for on-demand, not just learning, but skills training. SAP has partnered with various organizations in different countries around codes, like for youth purposes, code development skills or specialized manufacturing skills, industry 4.0 type of skills. And the thing that I struggle with in our region, and really it's actually in the US overall, I haven't seen that same kind of openness to the idea of more of the manufacturing and industry 4.0 skills training. It seems to be very focused on STEM, and STEM is hugely important. We run all kinds of code training programs for adults as well as for youth. But I know the demand exists, and I am kind of frustrated that I don't know how to always put it together. The German embassy, interestingly, we're a German company, has a program where they actually offer American businesses to partner and leverage German-style apprenticeship programs to set those up. And I think there's some really interesting opportunities that could be leveraged there for apprenticeships as we look at this recovery and we look at the type of skills and the jobs that we want to upskill people. We want to move displaced persons into the kind of work that has, a better salary, but also good job security. And I know that those jobs are there, and it feels like there's kind of a disconnect here. So we're definitely seeing the companies we work with interested in a lot of training software and training work, but that's a lot of been more in like the tech sector and the high tech sector. So I feel like there's this disconnect that I'm seeing between what is possible and some of the resources that we have in this area, and especially with DC, with that program available. And I am curious, I would love to hear from the committee. Is that something, apprenticeships, is that something that has been talked about in the Commonwealth more broadly? This is only my second meeting, so if this is something that's already gone through, I apologize. But I think that could be a valuable path forward to the point, whether it's truck driving or manufacturing, or I would like to see a professionalization of a lot of the trades and skilled trades and functions that I think we have a high demand for and a high fit in our resources in the Commonwealth. So that was, the apprenticeships is sort of an area that I'm interested to understand if we've explored, and I'm seeing that as a possible path forward as we look to shift people from not just the pandemic, but in general into new areas.
Yeah, Rebecca, I think you're going to find that apprenticeship has been a real priority in the last few years here. And, I think it's got a resurgence. You have a great benchmark there in Germany. In Berlin, I had the honor of going to the Siemens Technical Academy there. I
Yes.
really recommend, that's a great benchmark, fantastic. And our own Alan Milton here is, the Apprentice Academy at Newport News. But there's everything in between as well. I mean, there's a lot of the community college programs and that are doing a lot with apprenticeships. And, we need to hook you up with Trish from the D-Valley. They do a heck of a job. They are involved in a lot of the, the committee meetings and that. So lots of stuff there, that's for sure.
Awesome.
Let's go on and
Bruce,
yes.
how are you? This is Roxy Mejia with the Painters and Allied Trades.
Hi, Roxanne.
I actually want to just piggyback from Rebecca. I actually am one of the providers of apprenticeship programs. We have an over 200-year program that is registered in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. I'm not the only one within the building trades. There's 13 of us. They cover Maryland, Virginia, and DC. Rebecca, you are correct. There needs to be more push in the area. It's what and of course, this is my second meeting. And I also sit on the workforce development in Northern Virginia. And one of the struggle is that we need to do a better job in promoting it within the industries. I know you mentioned community colleges, but they're not the same. In the construction industry, you actually need to be a hands-on, and that's how training happens. So you earn while you learn. And getting just a certificate while you sit in the classroom, it really doesn't prepare you for what is out in the field. So these are the type of apprenticeships that need to be promoted by all of us. Unfortunately, it's a great thing, but it doesn't, as everybody knows, things sometimes have to be pushed a little bit through legislation. But the challenge as well is to make sure that we put them in a job site. I'm concerned about this infrastructure money coming down the pipeline. Of course, every county and state's having a shortfall, and that may hurt some of the maintenance and industry and infrastructure construction jobs. So if you are going to be training in a classroom and within a confined environment, you also need to be on the job because that's how you learn. So that's what we call it, earn while you learn. We are very hopeful that we are also putting it out there to market it to more women in the industry. You make a very sustainable living, I believe. You get, not only do you get good wages, you get benefits and pensions if you go through a registered apprenticeship program. And like I mentioned, if anybody likes to get a hold of me, I can connect you with the different trades that have their apprenticeship programs in the area. But I figure I was like in the right spot to bring it up.
Yeah, very timely. Yeah, excellent points, Roxana. That's it's a thing that time has come. I mentioned the German apprenticeship program as well. I won't tell you what year, but I did an apprenticeship in tool and die making in Toledo, Ohio. Never mind when, but sometimes it drives me crazy when we say we have to adopt the European model of apprenticeship when we used to have it. So that's my pet peeve. I'll get out there. And speaking of a timely way to bring in somebody in the subject, our own Alan Milton. How about you go next, Alan, and share with us?
Okay. Well, a lot to say. Yes, I'm in the middle of sudden retirement, about a week and a half in. And it is a little overwhelming, but it's going to be okay. I will tell you, representing Thomas Nelson Community College, which will probably be renamed shortly. It's one of those institutions that is undergoing an analysis of the name, and we shall see what turns out. It may be shortly known as Peninsula Community College. We shall see what the chancellor does with that name. But I would say that from that point of view, from Thomas Nelson Community College, our enrollment's down considerably, as you would expect with COVID, the ability to pay, and we're working on that. There's a whole lot of talk surrounding Governor Northam's G3 initiative, which is get skilled, get a job, and give back. There's a lot of talk, and hopefully those monies will be coming and those programs will be out there shortly. And apprenticeship is a very hot topic, and it should be one of the best alternatives to highly skilled employment that is certainly needed and generally pretty very stable employment.
Mhm.
So we'll just leave it at that. Welcome, glad to be here with you folks, and look forward to our conversations today.
Great.
And as a recently retired, I will be looking to maybe become a literacy tutor volunteer at some of our elementary schools and primary schools here in Poquoson.
There we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Alan. All right. Dr. Barry, please share with us. How's things going? Man, COVID must be impacting you.
Oh,
So
absolutely, sir. I mean, I think that I was looking at the news today, and they said actually last year at this time is when everything just kind of shut down. And I think we all can. I mean, that's one of those moments that's kind of ingrained in our head, and probably will be ingrained.
I remember I was working with
life.
you on some virtual training technologies, and boom.
Yeah, exactly. It was just mind blowing that it's been a year now. So, but anyway, again, good morning to all of you all. I'm the superintendent of education for Department of Corrections because I think I missed the last meeting. But it's great to see you all that I've seen before again. We talked about apprenticeship programs before. We have many apprenticeship programs here in the Department of Corrections. So we've been doing this for years and years and years. We're trying to reopen some of the classes now slowly. That's why I thought I was going to be late for this meeting. That did, and actually I thought this meeting was starting at 9:30, but I looked at the agenda again. It's at 10 o'clock, so I said I'm good. So, but we're trying to reopen classes again. I said probably, hopefully, those classes will be open within the next couple of months. Slowly, we have pilot sites that we're trying to look at first before we reopen everything. I think we need to be cautiously optimistic. Many of us have received the vaccine shot, but still, there's still a lot of unknowns. Even though we're getting some CDC guidelines, we still need to proceed cautiously in this new phase. But we're ready to get going again. Since the last meeting, I heard STEM come up. But since the last meeting, I was appointed to the Board of Trustees for the Science Museum of Virginia. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up. And my background, of course, is in education, but my background is in science. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity in terms of serving the Commonwealth. And also I heard the CDL piece. Actually, that's something that we're planning to start this year. We're planning to have a mobile CDL unit that kind of travels across the state that instruct our students on how to drive, at least to get their initial instructions with that. So within the next few months, hopefully, we'll have a unit up and going to train some of those inmates that are being released to be able to drive trucks and buses and those types of things. So we're so excited. We're using this challenge of the last year as an opportunities to kind of refocus and reimagine some of the things that we've been doing. And so we're excited about this opportunity. And again, it's great to see you all again. Thank you.
Fantastic, Dr. Barry. Thank you for what you do. That's great. Tammy, please share with us.
Good morning. I'm Tammy Dean, and I'm the director for the Practical Nursing Program for Prince William County Schools. And basically, COVID pretty much shut us down for a while because of nursing, and we were not able to go in to the hospitals and to the private sector of different healthcare institutions. And anyways, it's starting to turn around since January, and we're in the process right now of admissions for next school year. So I'm hopeful that next school year may have a little bit of a different path for us. But the Board of Nursing did say that we could do simulation, and fortunately we have a great simulation lab at our school, and we were able to go virtually with some of the simulation. Students seem to have come to a higher level of clinical judgment but they're lacking in their actual clinical skills. So right now, as of January, we've gone back into the hospital setting and we're pressing forward with trying to get them with that hands-on skill, so they have the dexterity of a good, not just good, but excellent nurse. Rebecca, I do have something to say regarding apprenticeships and things like that. The high school systems are constantly looking for apprenticeships. So that might be something that you might want to reach out to the supervisors of the career and technical education for the public school systems that are in the area. And I can help you with supervisor names. I'm sure Mr. Wilcox can as well. If you need any names of people who you could reach out to for Fairfax and also Prince William.
Fantastic, Tammy. Great
That's
point.
great.
Rebecca,
Thank you.
yeah, there's this is opportunistic. This is real opportunities here to learn more about that. And I love the high school thing, Tammy. That's really great. We did one with Prince George High School where we had Standard Motor Parts, a warehouse distributor, take seniors, employ them, train them, put them into an apprentice program, and that's great. They go right to employment. Fantastic there. Did I miss anybody? I think we've covered everyone. Okay, good. We went just a few minutes over, but worth every second of that. That was great discussion, and I think I'd love to be a fly on the wall for the other follow-up discussions here. So with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our own George Wilcox, who is going to introduce our very special guest we're honored to have today. So George, take it away.
Morning, Bruce. Thank you, and good morning to everyone. It is a distinct pleasure to introduce Jane Didmeyer, who is the Deputy Chief Workforce Advisor for Governor Northern. Her responsibilities include acting as the state lead for the Virginia Future of Workforce Task Force, which examines the growing gig economy and the working environment of the gig workforce, and serving as Executive Director of the Virginia Board of Workforce Development. Prior to joining Governor Northern's administration, Jane served in elected office as a county supervisor, as well as the chair of the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. A key focus during Jane's tenure was improving infrastructure, specifically highways and county roads, and deploying reliable and affordable internet and cell service to counties' rural areas, which has been extremely important during the last year. After leaving elected office, she served from 2016 to 19 as the Chief of Staff for Delegate David Toscano, Virginia's 57th District, then Minority Leader of the Virginia General Assembly. Jane is also a principal in Positive Solutions Group and a business consultant specializing in strategic planning. Her background is business. She has owned and worked with many businesses across the Commonwealth, particularly when she served as president of the Charlottesville Regional Chamber of Commerce. She earned her bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Virginia, and also attended UVA's Dartmouth School for Executive Program and Virginia Tech Center for Public Administration and Policy. It's a pleasure to welcome Jane, and we look forward to her update this morning. Welcome.
George, thank you so much. My team knows that I am meeting with this board today and wanted me to give a shout out to you. Appreciate the introduction. I am here today because of my responsibility to the Virginia Board of Workforce Development. Heidi thought that you would be interested in our strategic plan. And after listening to each of you talk a little bit about your areas of interest for opportunity and also the challenges that you're seeing, I can see that this board umbrellas quite a bit of the things that you are talking about, interested in, and would like to see forwarded for Virginians. I want to also give a shout out to Ellen Osborne from my hometown. Hello, Ellen, nice to see you. And of course, Dr. Berry, we have enjoyed working with your team very much during this administration on how to help returning citizens in their training needs. Jessica Lee has been a great person to collaborate with, and so thank you for that. I had a chance this morning to look at the members of the board. Heidi, I want you to know I'd like to steal some of them for our board. What great talent. I'm pleased to be with you today. First, I want you to know that we have a fantastic professional staff that supports the Workforce Board. None of us are paid by the Workforce Board. We have other responsibilities, but we come together because of our professional expertise to support the mission. We can get into those goals when we look at the strategic plan, but the main mission, the main raison d'etre for this board is to advise the governor on workforce policy. So he takes that very seriously, and I understand previous governors have as well. My job mainly is to make sure the board has the resources and the structural behind the scenes organization so they can do their work. Like you all, we bring together people from across the states. We want regional diversity. We want ethnic and racial diversity. We want, with our business members, 51% of the board is required by the federal government to be business people. We want that to be representative of many industry sectors so we can have their viewpoints. And additionally, we have organized labor and training providers that serve on the board, as well as 6 secretariats from the governor's cabinet. So we get a lot of great ideas talked about, debated, various resources that they have consulted before we decide to make recommendations to the governor. As you all have found out, I'm sure, we have a very differentiated workforce system. In other words, different agencies control different types of funds coming in from the federal government. You all, of course, are concerned with Title II and adult education, but we braid together here in the state funds and state professionals to execute many types of employment and training programs. And so the beauty of it is we can laser down and make changes because of that differentiation. The challenge is, of course, operating as one system, a unified system, a system that moves in the same direction, a system that doesn't waste resources because of redundancies or misses opportunities to better serve our citizens because we have holes in our service delivery programs. So I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the strategic plan. What we decided to do today is, instead of drilling down on the strategic plan immediately, we want to take you to the website that we have recreated and redesigned to be a walking tour of the focus of this umbrella board that serves Virginians in the training and employment areas. Heidi's going to help me, and Heidi, could we go to the Virginia CareerWorks website? Thank you. So you all may be familiar with the Virginia CareerWorks website. If you're not, this is a great opportunity for you to bookmark it because it has so many different resources available. I would like for you to feel very comfortable while I go through this material to stop me and ask questions. I have thought in advance of a few things you might want to have me elaborate on based on the comments you made this morning, but please stop me at any time. So this is the home page. And you'll note across the header there that on the right-hand side, we have Virginia Board of Workforce Development. Heidi, before you click on that, would you go scroll down a little bit? I want to show two other things. First, I'd like to highlight the high demands. Come on down a little bit. Workforce services. All right. Stop there for a second. Several of you serve on your local workforce boards. These are regional, and they actually execute our title, particularly our Title I and Title III functions, but also combine all other services and can umbrella that to produce a coordinated effort in your regions. For those of you not as familiar with your workforce board, you may want to get in touch with the director and begin to work directly with them. And then come on down just to the Workforce Credentials Grant. A lot of you talked about credentials. I think it was, was it Rebecca Hughes? Yes, you were talking about the focus on STEM. We are about to embark on the required report. The federal government requires it in the state code on high demand jobs. And from that, the funding goes for the workforce credential, from the Workforce Credential Grant to fund those things. So you have an opportunity to impact that report through the committee, which I'll introduce you to later, that will be producing that report and therefore that recommendation to the governor. I think, Heidi, that's enough for the homepage. If we could go back up and click on the board icon there, we'll go to that. So this takes you to the Virginia Board of Workforce Development landing page. There's the big boss right there, Governor Northam. And then right below is my boss, Dr. Megan Healy. She's a fantastic chief workforce advisor. The General Assembly saw fit to abolish our office and has asked her to create, or actually the governor to create, a full-blown secretariat. So starting July 1st, she will then be Secretary of Labor, and my title will change to her Deputy Secretary of Labor. Heidi, go back up to where the governor is. You'll see there that the first link is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. We are not going to read that today, but if you'd click on that, I'd like to show your board two things. You all may be quite familiar with this act. You may have read it. Great bedtime reading. This is what requires that there be workforce boards in every state in the nation. It is through this board that they monitor, measure, and seek compliance on the things that workforce boards and all the money that they pour into each state is used for. We currently track approximately $1/3 billion that comes in through this act. And I just wanted, in case you really are interested in it, go down to section 100 right there. That's all about the workforce board in Title I. And then you all, if you go down to section 200, Heidi, you all are involved with Title II, and you can find information about Title II and what you're involved with there. So that's what's created us. And then Heidi, if you would go back to the landing page, we will not click on the governor's link. That just takes you to his homepage. You can see what he's up to. And then we will not click on the Chief Workforce Advisors page, but make us proud and go there sometime. It's all about our reports and work that we have been doing. Come on down a little bit. Stop there. Go back up to, at least on my screen, to there, stop. So the link that says members, the strategic plan goes through our membership, but I think this is a better way to look at it. I want to point out some people that are representing your interests on the board. If you'd click on that, that would be great. All right, we'll go down. So just scroll down a little bit there. And the first person I'd like to highlight is Xavier Beal. I think Xavier would be particularly interesting for you, Alan. He is Newport News Shipbuilding. We're working with him on those layoffs, as well as obviously HR, to see about new jobs for people that have been laid off. He's the Vice President of Trades, so he brings a good understanding of how trades are important in manufacturing. If we scroll down a little bit more, we have Tom Bell there. He's labor. For those of you that are used to working in labor or are assigned to labor, if you keep going. Brian Moran for Dr. Berry. That's the secretariat that works closely with Dr. Berry and his team. Keep going down. There's the Secretary of Education, Secretary Carney. And then right below him is Doris Kraus-Mays. She's AFL-CIO. Keep going, Becky Sawyer. I think we had someone here besides Tammy that was in healthcare, but she brings that insight to the board. And then if you keep going down, we have Patty, Travis, Denise, Susanna, Megan, keep going. Brett Bassey. I think, Bruce, you were involved with advanced manufacturing, and he brings that insight to the board. So let's go then also back up to the top, if you will, and go over to the staff for a minute. I know that our person from the VEC is not here today. That's probably because they've repurposed so many of their workforce to handle the crunch that we're involved with the federal government now designing new ways to send funds to Americans. They will have to once again reshuffle to be able to send that money out. So we have 3 people actually from the Virginia Employment Commission, but the person I really wanted to highlight was, keep going. And there she is. Heidi is important, a key member of our professional staff. All right, so we've had a little bit of a tour through some of the human beings that really make this board work. If we could, just before we move on, take a look at these committees. During the strategic plan review, which we'll do in just a second, the 4 standing committees each have selected a goal that they will work on for the next 3 years. And so when we go through these, if there's a goal that you're particularly interested in, you may want to attend their committee meetings. You can also give public comment, especially in your roles as serving on this committee. And Heidi can help you figure out how to do that. Go ahead and let's go back to the landing page and scroll down, please. All right, stop there. Thank you. We're going to come back at the very end to the icon that says meetings, but right now we're going to go to publications. And we're going to open that in a minute, but I just want to show you the publications here. Our bylaws are being updated. We'll be voting on that this next Friday. Our annual report's very interesting. It concludes each July 1st, so it doesn't include a lot about the pandemic, but it does talk about us moving into it in March. And then at the bottom is the combined state plan. We will not look at that today. But what we did as a board was we finally were able to, because of the timing of when the combined state plan was due and when we decided to develop a new strategic plan, we were able to take the overall 4-year combined state plan goals and look at them and see how we could execute those in our strategic plan. So they work together really well. Heidi, go on up to the strategic plan and let's open that up. Does anyone have any questions or comments before I go through the plan? All right. Let's go ahead and scroll down. There's a nice letter from our chair, Nat Marshall. Our incoming chair in July is Lane Hopkins. And then if you are interested in further looking at our members, these are broken down by category. So you can see what I was talking about when I was showing you their faces. Also on our board, if you'll stop, is our elected officials. Remember, this is a governor's board. The governor appoints almost everybody on the board per the requirements dictated by the federal statute. But there in Virginia code, the General Assembly saw fit to appoint 2 delegates and 2 state senators. And we also have 2 local government leaders. Ann Malik is one of them from our area. And they bring in a very interesting public sector viewpoint. They also are very responsible in the General Assembly members of creating legislation around the things that they learn about and drill down on in the workforce board. If you all are looking for 2 delegates or 2 senators to listen to some of the things you'd like to see happen from your viewpoint on this board, they would be great to contact because they already have a great foundation from our workforce board and the things that they've learned there. Keep going. Thanks, Heidi. So the overall mission and vision and guiding principles are here. We won't read those other than the mission and vision statement. The mission of the workforce board is to build a strong workforce with skills aligned to employer needs. So what I heard you all commenting about today certainly fits into what we're trying to think about and forward here for Virginians. So we should have a close working relationship, not only through Heidi, but through some of the board members that represent your interests on the board. Let's go down to our vision. I think this is a pretty beautiful vision. Normally, having been involved with the development of so many strategic plans and also helping to create many strategic plans, I begin to feel like vision after vision starts blending together, but they did a beautiful job on this. So every Virginia, regardless of barriers they face, has equitable access to tools and opportunities, leading to careers that pay family-sustaining wages, and every business has access to highly skilled workforce. So that's what we're all about, and we remind ourselves of that at each meeting. Let's go to the Virginia snapshot. This has some really interesting information. If you want a ready resource for overall employment trends, our annual report is a good resource for you, as is this strategic plan. Now, this strategic plan will not be updated for 3 years. And so this will begin to be stale, but our annual plan captures it every year. We, as everybody else, all of you in your organizations and also for this board, went through a year that is for the history books. It's also an amazing year for workforce in that we entered the year having arguably one of the lowest unemployment rates in the country. We were able to scoop people with multiple barriers into jobs that they normally wouldn't have been attractive for, but because they were so needed, they were trained and given opportunities. It was just a beautiful time to be in workforce training, I'll tell you. And then all of a sudden, our unemployment rate went skyrocketed. So it was sort of a tale of 2 cities. It was the best of times, and then all of a sudden it was the worst of times. I think fortunately, this was the year that we also were developing our new strategic plan. So if we had developed it even 6 months earlier, we would have been talking about things that had nothing to do with recovery. And so fortunately, if you can put that in quotes, fortunately, we were developing it all through last summer. And Lane Hopkins, our rising chairperson, led that committee effort. And what we asked the people that were working on the plan for us was to really give us a snapshot of where we were, where we had been, where we were in 2020, and where we thought we should go for the next 2 years. And that's a very interesting page that you may want to look at in the future. But we also break it down by region. And I know all of you come from different regions, so that may be of interest to you as well. do you want to scroll a little bit down? Any questions about this page or want to make a comment from what you're experiencing out in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, Ms. Didmeyer, this is Rodney Derry. I just had a quick question. I saw the data regarding this, I guess, the employment rates across the state. And I was just curious in terms of STEM. It seemed like they did, I guess, and I know we're just looking at a snapshot there, but it looked like they did fairly well between July 19 and July 20. Did you all discuss what was some of the, I guess, reasons why they went up? And they may have gone down since then, but have you all discussed the reasons why they increased employment in regards, in comparison to the other metro areas? I was just curious, that stood out so much to me.
It really does. And to answer your question very specifically, no, there has not been discussion about this. These come directly from the Virginia Employment Commission, their labor market information group. But what was interesting for us was that in some cases, employment was skewed based on large employers who didn't lay off. And we know that our poultry and some of our large farming corporations did not lay off and were very busy during that time. So it could be that since in the Stanton, Waynesboro, the two counties, Augusta and Rockingham, there's a significant employment in that area. It could be that is hazarding a guess and not specific to any discussions that our board had. Good question. Anybody else before we move on from this page? All right, so this is here for you if you'd like to review it at a later date. Go ahead down, Heidi, for us. So let's look at the strategic plan, goals, and strategies. We have that headline right there at the bottom of the blue panel. In its role as advisor to the governor, the board will. So all of these goals have that as a preliminary statement. The first is to identify short and long-term workforce strategies for business and workers in response to changing economic conditions. It will be through this goal that we will look at the high demand jobs report. We also call it the hot jobs report. And from there, we will fund the credentials and certifications that will result in reemployment or a step up in employment for Virginians. This is a pretty active committee, and it's one you may want to monitor. All of our meetings are open to the public. We will be looking at worker needs, of course, and then also policies and programs that we have already in place that are either helping or maybe hurting depending on the economic environment. Next goal, please. The next goal is to expand equitable access to education and training programs. The registered apprentices show up in this committee. We have a presentation this coming week on registered apprenticeships. And then I think it was it Ellen? I'm sorry, Roxana. Yeah, was mentioning that maybe there should be some legislation to help with registered apprenticeships. There was legislation in this General Assembly.
It got put in the study, right?
Yeah, the study. That's coming through our office.
Okay.
And also the Workforce Board is in the title of the bill. So the board will have 3 volunteers and we will set up a temporary committee supported by additional staff to make that report by the end of the year. You may want to be interested, you may want to be involved with that. So.
Absolutely.
So anyway, another part of adult education comes under this goal and therefore this committee, and that's to support every Virginian to earn a minimum high school diploma or equivalent, and preferably a credential in a industry recognized area. So another great committee for you to pay attention to if you're interested in more meetings based on your expertise that you bring to this board. Let's see, and then of course, always the equitable lens. Our governor feels strongly about that, as you know, and therefore our board does, and of course our office work. Goal 3. Let's see, increase access to technology needed for education, training, and career pathways. I know that you have previously heard from one of my colleagues, Felix Shapiro, about our referral portal. And I know Heidi's very active in that. She may update you each time you gather for your board meetings. And you heard from Tom Allison from Chev about the digital divide. Tom, I was blessed to have him on the Future of Work Task Force that I was the staff lead for the governor. And he is amazing as far as translating data-rich terms and lexicon into street level language that everyone can understand. So I can only imagine how much you must have liked those 2 presentations. This particular goal looks at using available technology, and obviously if you don't have broadband, you can't use that technology. Also, if it costs too much, you can't. The other part of it, strategy 3.2, is the Virginia Career Works portal, which is that referral portal that Felix talked about. So if you're interested in technology and how it can be used, especially now that we've learned so much about virtual training and service delivery because of the pandemic, this would be a good area for you to look at. Goal 4. And then finally, we address the systematic barriers to workforce success through innovative strategies, policy changes, and investments. This is our Access and Equity Committee. It's a very dynamic committee. I float among all 4 committees when they're meeting, and I wish I could concentrate just on one because they are all really, really exciting in the work that they're doing. Any questions on the goals, and then we'll move to the next part of the plan. Okay.
Hi, this is Tammy Dean. I do have a question. Goal 2, strategy 2.2, supporting the Virginians to earn a minimum of a high school diploma equivalent and preferably a post-secondary credential or industry recognized credential. As a director for a practical nursing program in a high school system, which also does adult education, the one thing that I've learned is that workforce, when people go there to try to get credentials and things like that like our program, because it is an 18-month program, and most LPN programs, which is an entry-level nursing position, it is not, they're not able to actually go to those types of schools. They're being able to be funded to go to become a CNA or a home health aide, which also, are lacking in employment as well when you look at the workforce labor, but so are nurses, and LPN is an entry level. So is there a reason why there is a time limit so short, specifically when these types of career fields could be an advantage to Virginia?
Tammy, that is, first of all, wonderful insight and a great question. There's been a lot of discussion about stackable credentials so that you keep going till you finish, say, your full, was it 18-month program? Mm-hmm. I believe the philosophy before was, let's get them in bite-sized credentials and back into the workforce. That's partially because employers need people with that credential, but it's also because people need to earn a living. I think it was Alan talked about G3. This is going to be a game changer, and it did pass. It actually passed the General Assembly in the 2020 session and was funded, but then the pandemic hit, so the budget was stripped out. So it passed again. It's fully funded. It is going to launch. It's going to be exciting, and healthcare, of course, Tammy, is one of the key buckets that will be used for training. Through this, Tammy, I'd like to draw your attention to a program called Network to Work, that actually was not conceived by our board, but when we learned about it, my boss, Dr. Healy, decided to take the pilot, and Ellen Osborne may be familiar with this program because it started at the community college, or at least it resides currently at the community college in Charlottesville, Piedmont, Virginia Community College. We are now piloting that in 3 other places in the state. One is in the Valley, located in Harrisonburg. One is with a consortium in Richmond, and one is in the Hampton Roads area, to see if we can take this statewide. And they'll be looking at a continuum, and healthcare obviously is screaming. It always has been since I've been involved with workforce, but particularly now for new people who are moving through their credentialing and their degrees. I'd be happy to talk to you offline about that further if you'd like.
That's a great program. We've had students from that program.
From Network to Work?
Yeah, they're very dedicated. And it's so amazing to see the success stories that come out of that program.
It really is, Ellen. And the thing that when I'm talking about Network to Work that I think is helping us continue to feel amazed is we have been a very reactive state with regard to employment and training services. Offer it and they will come has been our philosophy. And this actually reaches out through a series of well thought out networks in a workforce region to draw people in and help them get the credentials they need or training, and then get the employment that matches those. So we'll see. I think the pilots are going to be successful enough to go statewide, and we'll see. Any other?
Yeah, I just know that I have so many people who are applying to our program, and one of the questions they always ask is that, can this program be funded by workforce? And especially here in Northern Virginia, where the cost of living is a little bit extra. Yeah. And for CNAs, that is not something that they can actually work at and fund their family. Mm-hmm. Which is one of your goals.
Right, exactly. No, I don't think we're there yet where we can go for the whole 18-month. I do want to foreshadow, although since I'm not the governor, nor am I the chief workforce advisor, they will be making this decision together. We currently have a waiver on the work search requirement, which will be lifted sometime this year. Probably as early as spring, although the date has not been determined. That is the requirement for any of you that may be wondering what it is. That requires anyone who is on unemployment, receiving state benefits through or receiving state benefits through SNAP or TANF, to be actively looking for a job. There is discussion, and I think this is very creative, and I hope that this sees its way into policy, of exempting work search if a recipient is actively being trained in a recognized certification or credentialing program. And I think that will help be a step up into family sustaining wages for these folks. Anyway, Heidi, let's move away from the goals. I just want to show one more section of the report. We have an appendix, and this lists federal and state funded training programs. As soon as this was published, there were other groups that said, hey, what about us? So it's not a completely comprehensive list, but it is close to what is offered here in the state through Title I through IV and others that coordinate with Title I through IV services and employment. So it's a nice resource for you to know about that is at the tail end of this plan. Before I close, would you mind, Heidi, going back to the board landing page? I need to go back one more. Um, hmm.
Like to be, here's the members.
No, the one that has the governor, I want to tell them about the meetings that are coming up. Something that I'll announce to you before our board hears about it next Friday is my boss is working on a real drill down on the entire workforce system. It's an evaluation of how we work together and how we deliver our services. We will deliver that report in time for our workforce board to consider the recommendations from it by September of this year. You might wonder why we who serve in administration that will come to an end in December would be doing this. We decided that it would have been fantastic for us to have this evaluation coming into office so that we could work for 4 years on starting out with a foundation of understanding the entire workforce system. So this will be our gift to the next administration. It'll also be our gift to boards like yourselves, like yours and ours and others who are advising critical policymakers. You, of course, advise the Department of Education. We advise the governor and to a certain extent, the General Assembly. So look for that coming out in September. But in the meantime, if you'd click on meetings, Heidi, I'd like to draw your attention to a couple things going on next week in case you have time. The first icon there is a meeting that will happen next Thursday from 12 to 1:30. It's an executive level briefing. We've warned our speakers not to speak in data speak. This is where we hope our board members and others who are attending will learn about the various data sources and tools for Commonwealth decision makers. So I think this would be wonderful for any of you looking at your specific industries, looking for your initiatives coming out of your organizations, or just so you know, if you're looking for data, where to find it. So that's next Thursday, and it begins our 1.5 days of board meetings, open to the public, and you are very welcome to attend. Scroll down for me, Heidi. The 4 committees that look at those goals are all meeting then at 2 o'clock that afternoon on Thursday. So you're welcome to attend. You're also welcome to make comment under public comment. And then finally, I think of interest might be the board meeting on Friday. We will have early in the agenda a presentation by the liaison for the National Governors Association, and he will be speaking about the U.S. Department of Labor, how things are changing there with the new administration, the Workforce Innovation Act and where we are in that, and some of the things going on with the relief bill that was just passed. So that would probably be well worth tuning into. And then the last half of the meeting is Dr. Healy, and also umbrellaed in her report will be the Chief Broadband Advisor, who will be updating our board on broadband deployment, and also the Tobacco Commission and their training programs, and finally, national credentialing. So there might be some things there that you could be interested in, and you're welcome to attend any of those meetings. Heidi, that's all I wanted in terms of show and tell. I would be happy to stay to answer questions if there are any, or take messages back to my boss or my team or the board next week. But it's been a pleasure.
Fabulous. Any questions, folks?
This is Rebecca. I just have a question on that goal number 3 about increasing access, Jane. I'm also part of the Alexandria Beatley Library Friends group. And the libraries started offering passport services, and a lot of them have a lot of technology in place where machines and things, it's more STEM and, so far children oriented, but maker type devices. And it just makes me think, has there been any thought to trying to leverage the library system as another way for the outreach to the community to bring some of these this access to underserved populations? And because libraries are in every community, and it just seems like if they're able to set up passport services and have other types of services now, because as we're moving away from just books, I'm just wondering if anybody's thought about that as a physical way to reach more communities and use it as an outlet or location.
There has been some good thinking about it. It'd be interesting if Evan Feynman, who is the chief broadband advisor, talks about it. But I know even in the Charlottesville-Albemarle area, George mentioned in his introduction of me that we really drilled down on broadband access in the rural area, and we used hotspots like our libraries. Our libraries have reinvented themselves. Yeah. They still have books, but they have so many online services and research capabilities. We had in the Scottsville area a little teeny rural library, and we beefed up the broadband service from it so that people in the parking lots could access it. And we had literally cars in the parking lot 24 hours a day, kids doing homework, people looking for jobs.
Great idea.
So yeah, it is. And it's something where you could use those libraries to distribute access in a more democratic way. That's little d democratic, throughout the Commonwealth. So Heidi, maybe we should prime Evan on Friday to discuss how that's going statewide. I just know about it in Albemarle County.
Very good. Jane, will these meetings be available like on YouTube or to watch?
You mean at an inventory?
If we can't make that time, is it going to be somewhere we can access? Are you going to archive them somewhere?
Heidi, we've not discussed that as a staff, but that's a good idea. And I think you all do that here for this board, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, so I like that idea. I can tell you that we're not ready for it for this meeting, but I'm just going to make a note. And Heidi, let's talk about that at the wrap up.
Well, either Heidi can help you with that, or a 9-year-old we can find.
Yes, send us all your 9-year-olds, please.
Yes. They'll give you a snort of derision first and then help you out, right?
Great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, good. Any more questions? I know we are running a little over, but again, worth every second of the time. It's really great discussion. Any else? No. So here we are at 11:15. We did promise a 10-minute break, and we should probably withhold that, or I'm sorry, honor that and give us a 10-minute break. So that would put us back online at 11:25. And then maybe Heidi can do a high-speed version of her proposal. But we're going to have plenty of time to get it all in. So let's start a 10-minute break. Let's adjourn this meeting until 11:25 exactly. Thank you, folks. See you soon.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Looks like we got about a minute left. All righty. Oops. Had my timer going. So it's, let's see, I think we're all back already. So I will officially call this meeting back to order at 11:25. So next on our agenda, we have George and Heidi down for an update on adult education. Who gets the reins first? Is that our own George?
Bruce, if possible, we would ask to move new business up to this segment in order to maintain a quorum. It's
Okay.
possible that we have at least one member that may need to depart before the scheduled end of time.
Good call. Good call. Any objections to that? We'll move the new business up. Great. So barring any objections to that, we will move on to new business. That's nominations and vote for chair and co-chair of the Adult Education and Literacy Advisory Committee. Heidi, are you facilitating this, or George, or how do we proceed?
Would make comments.
Well, this committee is resolved in the beginning to have a co-chair structure. Bruce, you've made it look very easy.
No,
So you haven't intimidated anyone. And the way this can work is that a member nominates him or herself and then can be voted on a chair or nominate someone else and someone else has to accept. So it's really generated from the committee.
Can we vote to keep the same chair, or are they only allowed to have it for a certain amount of time?
Bruce's second
Term is coming to an end.
Right. So I'm termed out.
He's termed out. Nice try.
Sorry.
Can you review who else is rolling off? I think I'm also rolling off. Can you also mention the terms about who would be available to do this?
Yes, and so everyone has a contact list.
That's right.
Everyone else is eligible. Ellen and Bruce are terming out with this meeting today. So you can't nominate either one of them.
How about Anna? Is she?
She's remaining on the board. She is not here today. I'll state the obvious.
Well, it sounds like that's the person who we should nominate.
Tammy, were you in the military?
I was.
Really?
I'm a retired Air Force nurse.
Well, I would vote to nominate Anna, in her absence, because I'm a big fan. This is such a great group. But
I don't mind co-chairing, but I prefer not to chair.
Well, anybody else have an interest? I know we won't be able to get an answer from Anna today. Do you need that today? Yeah, while we have a quorum, we have to get this done. So. All right. So,
Rebecca is speaking. But Rebecca, you're not, there you go.
I have a double mute situation. I get muted by application and by my headset. Apologies. I was just wondering, under the pandemic, we had rules that allowed us to conduct a motion on my another board by email because of situations like this. Is that an option here that we could conduct the motion if Anna agrees to do that by email, or is that not permitted under our operating rules? I don't remember seeing that addressed.
well, if I'm not mistaken, our original bylaws don't even allow for these virtual meetings. This is a special circumstance, so I'm not sure.
I don't
But
know the
let's see, we
answer,
have
and I don't
Tammy.
know, George, if
Tammy
you've
is,
encountered that.
Yeah.
We would have to verify that.
Okay.
And we could, Heidi, if you could ask staff who are on call to immediately research that, Beverly perhaps.
Well, we have Tammy volunteering as the co-chair, right? Or vice chair. Is that the structure going forward?
I think it's co-chair.
Co-chair?
Bruce, what exactly is entailed to the chair?
You know what, Beverly and Heidi make this very easy. I gotta, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. They are very thorough. They do this. This is an honor and it's a pleasure to do. All you do is facilitate and have a good time. You just let the discussion go. You get the agenda ahead of time, so you've got a voice in the, what's on the agenda. Heidi's really good about reaching out to you. Beverly takes really good care of you, gives you a timed version of our agenda, so we can keep on timekeeping in that. So very good. And this is one of my favorite. I have to say one of my favorites because I'm also on the Department of Corrections statewide CD board. So Dr. Barry, you're great too. And but it really is easy. You just gotta, like we all do for a living, we herd kittens. So, and that's just facilitating the meetings and that. So a little bit of prep time that, Heidi usually reaches out, bounces around a few ideas. And of course, they do all the follow-up, like with Jane Didmeyer today and, getting the guests together and then just another briefing before the meeting starts and just keep it facilitated. So.
If you don't want to do Anne and do it that way because she's not here, I'll go ahead and do it.
All right. Well, then I think I'll nominate Tammy Dean as the chairperson.
Unless somebody else really wants it, because I won't be offended.
Roxanne,
I just feel I'm a little bit new.
Roxanne, Rebecca?
I feel too new to be chair, but I would be willing to co-chair. Just I feel like I'm still getting a sense of the operations. But Tammy, I'm happy to work with you as co-chair if that would be okay for you.
Perfectly.
Wow. So do we need motions for these two? Okay. So as chair, I can't make motions. So we would entertain a motion to have Tammy Dean nominated as our chair for the Adult Education and Literacy Advisory Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So mute buttons off and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Tammy, on your recent appointment and promotion, all in the same day, just like the Air Force. Okay. Exactly. Then we'll entertain a motion for Rebecca Hughes to be our co-chair.
So moved.
I second it.
All right, so it's moved, it's seconded, mute buttons off, all in favor, answer with aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Rebecca. The motion is carried and we have our new chair and co-chair. Fabulous. All right. So congrats, folks. And don't worry, they're going to take good care of you in this really fun experience. I'm going to miss it immensely. All right. With that, let's move on to the adult education update. George and Heidi, you're going to tag team this one? All right. Dazzle us.
Thank you, Bruce. We would like to share that recently the Department of Education received its estimated federal allocation for July 1. And in that estimated allocation, there is a 3% increase from last year's allocation, placing us at $15,022,482. We are certainly pleased to have those additional resources that can go out to LEAs to advance the work in adult ed. It's been a pleasure to follow the work and accomplishments of the various regions during this pandemic year. The number of accomplishments and adjustments that program directors made has been phenomenal. We would like to point out that 2 of our programs received national recognition during the year, being the Peninsula Regional Adult Ed program at Newport News for its efforts in leadership in Plugged In for Virginia, and also the Thomas Jefferson Adult and Career Education Center located at Piedmont Community College. I'll ask Heidi to say a little bit more about both of those awards. We were very proud of them. Our GED testing centers were challenged during the pandemic, but adjusted, and students now have opportunities around the state to schedule testing opportunities. I'd like to take my hat off to Heidi and to all of the adult ed staff who do a super job day to day on behalf of teachers and administrators across the state. And we'll yield to Heidi.
Share my screen and give us an update on where we are with adult ed. I promised an update on our numbers from last year because when we last met in October, they were not final. So here they are. Last year we served 16,499, which was down from the previous year, 9%. Our skill gain rate is 24%. Our target was 44. Of course, the target was set pre-pandemic. And every state in the nation has, a very low gain rate for 1920. And our credential rate, though, was 27.92. That was still a baseline year for us, but that credential rate is pretty good and in line with national average. The national data is not yet final for the 1920 year, but it will be any day. A couple bright spots that happened through it all last year. Established 2 new data matches, one with VCCS and one with the state wage interchange system. Both of these matches are really helping our post-exit indicators. So we're able to capture more data. through the work of these data matches. And state government, this is a lot of work to get all these papers signed and established, but they're so worth it. And we're happy that they were able to kick in. So that was last year. And this is where we are now as of March 1st for this current year. As George said, every program is working. They are doing a little of everything in person to fully remote, and some days it's more of one than the other. They have had to switch up their plans many times, as you can imagine, through the year. As of March 1st, we had served 10,622 students, and then of that number, 5,883 were participants, meaning they had 12 hours or more. Our IET participants, always of interest to this committee, was at 353 as of March 1st, but we know that we are starting more IET cohorts in the spring term. So we're hearing program managers say that students are showing more interest. They're getting some more nibbles on their outreach, and we're hoping to see more enrollment, and especially more enrollment in IET in the spring term. The retention rate is interesting here. Retention is those students who stay until they have reached their goal. And for the same time frame, July 1 to March 1st last year, so in what was then a normal, the old normal, our retention rate was 44%. So having a retention rate at 78% right now is so intriguing and worth watching. We know programs are just turning themselves inside out to try and keep students, and I think that's showing here that once we get connected with the student, the programs are really following them and doing whatever they can to offer education to keep folks. So the program is going as fast as it can. People are working hard. Some of the IETs that are starting in the spring term, more truck driving, of course, trying to keep you busy, Mr. Quick. Direct care and CNA are going, child care development, paraprofessionals for the schools, welding, several cohorts in welding, and several in pharmacy tech. Probably some others that I'm not mentioning. Those are our top line IETs. So we'll be able to update you in October about how it all went. But I do want to share a few silver linings. As we talked to all our programs, we heard of their resilience and their extreme flexibility to support and retain students. We heard of math at midnight, tutoring students after their late shift. We hear of tutoring sessions on the weekends, evenings, one-on-ones. A student starts a class and can't continue. Just such extreme flexibility and working to help students reach their goals. We hear of teachers with more ways to differentiate instruction, and that's really interesting. Teachers are partnering with each other so that they can specialize, and one can dig down and really specialize in something, and students have that teacher for, reading and social studies, for example, and another teacher will take on the math and science content. So there's more differentiation for the teachers, or to differentiate students, who can attend with the laptop, come on this time so we can do these things, or who can attend only by phone, come at this time so we can do these things. Really very creative work going on by the programs. They're offering more and varied distance education options, understanding more ways to blend distance education with remote synchronous instruction, like through Zoom or Google Classroom. As we discussed in October, programs have purchased and repurposed laptops to become loaner laptops or hotspots that they can help students use to stay online and to address those broadband gaps that we've talked about. And of course, the digital skills of teachers, everybody, right, is improving. All of us are learning new things. So we're really improving all of our digital skills, our teachers and learners, and investing in our capacity to do more and do different and to meet the new needs. So really happy to give a shout out to our programs who are seeing some silver linings. As Jane mentioned, you know, that high school equivalency or high school diploma is a goal in the strategic plan, and that's fantastic. We're trying to really push on the fact that our state funds allow us to offer testing vouchers for students who are enrolled and are ready to test. So we can help students earn a free testing voucher, and so they don't have to pay for a GED test out of their own pocket. And trying to see, you know, watching this campaign roll out across the state, we've got some data points that we're going to be watching to see how this comes back to us, how many students and what their skill levels are when they come to adult ed. We're using the student fact sheet that the committee here helped us create, and putting these graphics on the back of that student fact sheet to really drive home and to reach new people how to find an adult ed program and that they have the opportunity to test for free. And you'll see the number of GED credentials and National External Diploma Program graduates to date in this program year. We're also using the CareerWorks portal, which is another thing that Jane mentioned. It's of great interest to the board, something that we invest in through our state leadership dollars. It is live and it's working. We are hoping to get more people to use it. Obviously, that's our user adoption goal. One way that adult education programs are using the portal is to provide career services. As the Virginia CareerWorks centers have not been open for their resource centers to be open to stop by and get the kind of support and referrals. We can use the Common Access portal to do that with students and be that one-stop shop for WIOA services, which is part of the law that we want to fulfill. We also want to use the portal to increase co-enrollment with our title partners and make sure that students are knowledgeable about and receiving all the services for which they are eligible. And this is one way to just make sure students are making those connections. One thing that we did this summer, through the summer, was to create a new program manager's responsibilities manual. It was good work for a pandemic. Ellen, I know you talked about doing strategic planning this year. It's been put off and then you're able to do it. Our previous manual had expired, and so it's high time that we put together a manual, and you can see the high-level table of contents here. This really filled a gap for us and put some things in writing, some references and proper citations to the law, to our state code, and some grant management principles that we just didn't have as a up-to-date manual. So this now lives on our website, and we'll be able to update it as we need to, but we're real proud that we were able to get that done and get that out to our grantees. As you heard Jane talk about, and certainly the Department of Education is committed to educational equity and making sure that student outcomes are not based on their race, gender, zip codes, socioeconomic status, or language spoken at home. The Ed Equity Office leads this work. They have done a tremendous amount of technical assistance and professional development for educators in Virginia. The adult education team echoes that out to the adult educators, and we try and put some wraparound opportunities and events around these big priorities so that we can make all of these priorities really relevant and contextualized for adult education. So doing a lot, focusing on increasing the cultural competency of Virginia's educators, eliminating disproportionality in student outcome data, and closing opportunity gaps. And in large measure, this is what adult education does. We are a gap closer, but we are trying to look at our own data to make sure we're doing the best job that we can, and we are learning together how to do it better. A couple things that we are doing on professional development and investing in our own teaching workforce. Through the VALRC at VCU, we have made a couple big investments in our people. One is for program managers. Through our membership with the National Association of State Directors of Adult Education and VALRC, we are bringing a leadership institute to our program managers. It's a 40-hour commitment over 8 months, and it gets kicked off at the end of this month. We're very eager to see that roll out and to get folks going on that. It's a national program of leadership development for adult educators. So that's exciting, very contextualized to our work. Also bringing career coaching certification to adult educators. And this is the same certification program that's already in use in Virginia at VCCS and VEC. And DSS is also bringing this to their Department of Social Services workers so that we can all be talking the same language and have career coaches that have gone through the same training. Excited to have a full complement, a full cohort of adult educators signed up to become career coaches. And certainly professional development on blended and distance education. We have created light touch, self-serve courses and professional development opportunities, as well as deep dives that are more intensive and go on longer, and try and touch all of our educators about bringing the best kind of instructional methodology they can to this remote instruction that we are offering now, and trying to take our best lessons learned into the future. The VALRC has been offering an online series of professional development. Equity has been a great big theme in here. We've had 3 fantastic plenary speakers that gave us a really good long amount of time. It's been terrific to have plenary speakers for a whole afternoon. And then we could break out into breakout rooms and keep talking about the topic and really contextualize it to our own settings. So they are here on the screen. And what comes next is there are 11 teams of adult educators working on common challenges through a project-based learning model. So they have been on their own working together, either in a single program or across programs across the state. And they will be doing a showcase in April. So that's what's next there. And these are the two awards that George was mentioning. This is to Peninsula Regional Education Program. They were recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Ed for their Plugged In Virginia Boot Camp. Rachel Ambrose, the regional program manager there, did a national webinar with Octave last month and did a wonderful shout out to all of her partners at Thomas Nelson and the Workforce Board, because these integrated education and training programs really take the whole community, the whole workforce community. So congratulations to them. And this is to congratulations to TJ Ace, our Region 10 program at Piedmont, Virginia Community College. They were recognized as the State Innovation of the Year for the Network to Work program that Jane was talking about. And Ellen, you might want to say another word here. The Network to Work program, again, it actually reaches into the community through community navigators. It's a great model, very human-centered, really doing the work of reaching into the community.
Yes, and it recognizes the whole person in and the variety of needs that someone may have that prevents them from finding self-sustaining work, you know, whether it's childcare, low literacy, lack of a car to get somewhere, you know, to get to a job. And it helps individuals learn to problem solve, and it helps them actually problem solve. So great program.
Excellent. And it's expanding, as Jane said, to the Valley, Richmond, and Hampton areas. So we're proud of our national awardees. Congratulations to them. Do you have any questions for me about the data or anything that I've shared? I have one more thing to do. If there are no questions, I'll share a couple more slides. Because we do want to thank you, Bruce and Ellen, both of you. Bruce, it's been great working with you. You've on behalf of the department, on behalf of the team, it's been a pleasure to have you as the chair of the committee. You've brought your community spirit, your workforce expertise to us, and it's just been a great partnership to work with you, and we wish you all the best, and we know there's always something going on. Really enjoy hearing what's new in your world, because you're so innovative and entrepreneurial. So much appreciation, and we're going to get these to you on paper.
Nice. Well, thank you. They'll be very valued possessions of mine. And I will thank each and every one of you. You guys have done a great job. George, Heidi, Beverly, wonderful people doing wonderful work. And God, what's not to love? Thank you so much for this. It's been an honor. I'm going to miss you guys, but I'm going to keep in touch.
All right. We hope so. We hope so. And we live stream our meetings.
Yeah, nice.
You can join.
Fantastic.
And Ellen, you have brought a great perspective to us. You represent a small program, small but mighty, right, of literacy volunteers. Our community-based literacy organizations fill a very important role in the Commonwealth. That layer that connects community to the adult ed program. And you've really brought that perspective. You haven't let us forget the importance of CBLOs. And of course, you brought us a Student of the Year last year. The work that you do is terrific. So thank you to you too.
Thank you. I've appreciated the opportunity, and knowing all of you and hearing about the work you do has really expanded my horizons and given me a better understanding of all the possibilities of what my little organization can do.
And does. Do and does.
But yes.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I have reached the end of my presentation here, Bruce. Thank you.
Oh, man. Another great meeting. Thank you so much. So to recap, I mean, we've had some great discussions here, and Rebecca, was so great to hear you talk about the apprenticeships and that. And so many of us have been involved in apprenticeships, and you know, that is a time that's come, but you know, it's program rich and systems poor out there. You know, we got to connect all these dots. But this is how we do that. We bring people together and connect those dots. So that was very, very timely. So that would be some of my comments. I was glad to hear that. You know, so pleased with the progress that adult ed continues to make. And we are all going to be very, very busy when this rebound happens. I mean, we're already getting prepared for it. Folks like myself and a lot of employers in that, and education and training is at the top of that as well too. So I'd love to hear from you all. What you know, last thoughts, Dr. Berry, what's on the horizon?
Well, again, I just want to say thank you and to you, Bruce, and to you, Ms. Osborne, for your dedication to the Commonwealth. It's been greatly appreciated, and I guess I'll continue to see you from time to time at the CTE advisory meetings.
That's right.
Yeah, so we'll still be in touch. But again, I just want to say thank you all for your service and leadership to the Commonwealth, and you know, we're looking forward to moving forward. I'm looking forward to moving forward in this this new year, and hopefully we can move past this COVID situation that we've been dealing with to a certain degree. But again, main thing I just want to say thanks to both of you all. Thank you.
Great. And we've had Duncan, you've been quiet on us. I'm gonna get you back in here. Any final thoughts?
No final thoughts, Bruce. I've enjoyed working with you, although it's been short-lived. I think my first meeting live was the only meeting. I believe I missed the other one. But no, thank you for your direction and leadership.
Well, thank you, sir. And let's find a project to collaborate on.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, Alan.
Yes, I want to thank both Ellen and Bruce for your hard work and leadership. I learned a lot from Ellen, that's for sure. I'll invite you to read, I guess, one of her publications that are online, maybe a master's thesis. Is very interesting. I learned a lot from reading that, Ellen. Thank you. I'm looking forward to how Virginia Community College system kind of works to help the Commonwealth of Virginia recover after COVID. There's a lot of hard work going on in there, and we're going to serve a very important population. And it's certainly community college is still the best kept secret, I believe, in many ways. How to afford to get to a 4-year degree is by starting your first 2 years at a community college. So and working in apprenticeship in somehow, some fashion is still going to be very important to me. So I've appreciated your leadership, Bruce and Ellen. We're going to miss you both, and I think better times are ahead. And I think that's the way the whole committee should look at it. And how we serve those populations that have been so impacted is going to be so important.
Very, very good. Roxana, you're not a rookie anymore. You're a seasoned veteran now of this committee. How you feeling?
Well, this is my second meeting. First of all, Bruce and Helen, I really appreciate your commitment and your dedication to this committee. I only wish I had more time with you and got to see you in person. Rebecca, I appreciate you bringing up the apprenticeship and everybody here discussing it. It is near and dear to my heart. and everybody else's input, I really appreciate. I still look forward to learning as much as I can from everyone. So thank you for everybody's patience.
Well, Roxana, it's not goodbye. It's so long. So let's find a project to collaborate on. It's going to be great.
I would love to.
All right. So, Madam Chair, want to bring us on home? That's you, Tammy.
Not yet.
Well, you got to try on that title for a bit.
Believe it or not, I really don't have much to say other than, Bruce and Ellen has been great with you guys. And Bruce, you've got some big shoes to fill. So, I mean, I have some big shoes to fill of yours. But other than that, it's been a great meeting today. Very interesting stuff. And I wish you guys all the best.
Absolutely. Well, George and Heidi, if you have anything else to add. No.
Bruce and Ellen, thank you. The commitment that you brought to adult education, your knowledge, contributions will pay dividends across the Commonwealth for decades. I certainly know that you will carry the flag for adult education in your next journey. And please know that we are here to help you in your efforts going forward, and do share any opportunities that you encounter to help the work of adult education to continue to move forward. Just thank you, and may you be safe.
Thank you, Dr. Wilcox.
Great. Okay. Heidi, anything else to add?
A lot to follow up on, though. So
Okay.
lots of good ideas for future meetings. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And Beverly, thank you so much. You're fantastic. Beverly Goodwin is takes really good care of us. Tammy, you'll get to know that. So with that, hey Beverly. So if there is not any more comments, I suppose we could entertain a motion to adjourn, could we not?
So moved.
All right, Ellen, moved to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Ellen. Thank you. And folks, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right. So folks, thank you so much for a great experience. This meeting, this March 11th meeting of the Adult Education and Advisory Committee is officially adjourned. And thank you all so much. And I will be seeing you. So thanks, folks. Let's keep in touch. Let's keep doing that good work.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Heidi, you'll want to stop recording.
Okay. Stop it.
There you go. Okay, I think everything went well, don't you?
Yes, thank you, Sharon. I really appreciate that.
Well,
the
I
moral
didn't
support.
do anything. You did it all. I just was listening and learning at the same time.
Well, it's always good to have a backup, Always good. Appreciate it. Thanks for staying on the whole time.
You're welcome. Thank
All
you.
right. Have a good
Bye.
day, Sharon. Thank you.